everyone. I just wanted to wave first this time. I keep wanting to look at myself, but the camera's up there. So I'm going to look up here.
I only look at myself.
So hi, everyone. We are back again. It is episode, well, technically 18, but it is at the moment we're back 2.
Season, in this season.
Or 2. It's 2 of the season. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I see Alyssa already in the chat. Hi, what's up? Hi, anyone else who's out there. We tried something new. We made a list of we tried to be organized and make like an agenda for the show today. Don't worry, we'll still be off the rails for some parts, I'm sure. But we actually tried a little bit to have our collective crap together. So before we actually start, well, I'm Courtney, Jen, and then we have Danielle. Just the 3 of us today, but no worries. Star Killer says episodes in 2 straight weeks. I guess we were really inconsistent previously.
We were
2 weeks in a row though. We're trying at least at the start to be somewhat consistent. So thank you for noticing. I wouldn't call that spoiling you. I would just call that being good podcast host. But thanks for that. We introduced ourselves great. We do want to talk. I'm going to have Jen talk real quick. I know if you follow our social media, we've been talking about the individual Q&As. We're going to do a lot, not a lot, but we're all going to try to do them. So I'll turn it over to Jen once. We're each going to do one video. I'll turn it over to Jen to talk more about it right now.
Yeah, so it was actually one of our viewers
who talk louder. I don't know, but you are.
We didn't fix it. Oh no.
No, it's her. I fixed it. You can hear me just fine. It's not me.
I think it's because you're off center, Jen.
Scoot over. I'm scooted. Okay. So anyway, yes, one of our lovely viewers, Charlotte, made a suggestion that we have a Q&A video for each of us so that you guys can kind of get to know us a little bit better because you see our faces almost every week, at least for the past 2. So USB mic, it's not a bad idea. I really am just a quiet person. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Courtney and I are going to start. So we will have ours probably tomorrow, the day after. I expect them sometime before next week's show. But yeah, any questions you guys have for us, lay them on out there on the Facebook, on the Twitter, anything like that. Just questions for us in general, or at the beginning of every week we'll announce who in particular is doing their Q&A video. So this week, if you guys have anything for me and Courtney specifically, go ahead, shoot it out to us on the Facebook and the Twitter, and we will answer those for you.
On the Twitter?
She doesn't do Twitter, so
I know. I'm just
I'm still a Twitter granny, so there's that. I don't have a Twitter.
So yes, I am looking at the comments. Yes, on the list, we're gonna get there, but for the sake of being somewhat organized, we're gonna start with the list that we have. So I don't know what handing notes Danielle is making. Oh, I need to shift. I need to be in the middle now. Okay, great. Well, this will be fun. We'll just sit like this with our heads together the whole show.
They're perfect.
This damn thing. All right, so just a quick, we're going to start with last week's games. Real quick, we will start with Utah and Orlando. Utah beat Orlando 1-0. Goal by Kristen Press. Anybody got anything? I have a couple talking points, but if anyone's got anything want to jump in, I don't want to just talk the whole show. So,
I mean, Orlando's still winless, which is not great, Bob. It's still early, but there's that. But then Utah is having they've only played a few games, but so far undefeated. So kind of have 2 different ways to talk hard. Okay, bye.
Yeah. I will say something I found interesting is that Ashlyn Harris seemed to be a late scratch. They had posted her in the lineup, and then we're like, just kidding.
It was
just kidding. We're like, I was honestly didn't really catch the reason. Jen's nodding, so probably. But I thought she did a great job. I think had like 5 saves, and they only lost by a goal, which was good. I think Orlando's improving as far as they've had a couple of close games after that. I think they lost 5-0. What?
They only lost by 1.
Right. Well, I'm trying
Sorry.
here. They lost 5-0 to the Courage, and so I'm trying real hard. But I just wonder where their offense is. Like Alana Kennedy had that great goal that one week, and then I don't know really where the offense has been. But on that note, I feel like they're improving. It's just not quite there. So we'll see what happens now that people will be gone and whatnot.
Yeah. I think, and then Copp starting, I mean, obviously, Harris is the number 1, but it's not a bad thing because, Harris is probably, we don't know until tomorrow, but probably going to be gone this summer. So why not? Obviously it was because of an injury during, the end of warmups, but
right.
It's good.
Right. And Starkiller, we're going to get to that player of the month. It's on the list. We'll get to there towards the end. So noted. Thank you for asking about that though. Moving on, we had Chicago beat the Reign 3-0. Goals by Short, Nagasato, and Elby, which was her first NWSL goal. Yay, love that. This was the game that was supposed to happen Saturday, and it snowed. Hi,
Yeah.
Chicago. Snow.
My sister went to Chicago on Saturday for a concert, and she got there Friday, but Saturday morning she wakes up and just shows us a video of it snowing, and it was pretty legit snow. It was bad, and she didn't have a coat. Not that you care about my sister's thing, but my sister didn't have a coat in that snow, so please keep her in your thoughts.
Well, funny story, because we were in Chicago the weekend of April 13th, which was a couple weeks ago, but still, it snowed, and it was like slushy, slurpy snow. I also didn't have an appropriate coat, so that was super unfortunate. But yeah, so they played the game. Some people posted on Twitter pictures of Arnhem and Rory Dames trying to clean up the lines to get the game maybe to play. I think that's awesome. Good for them, I suppose. Yes, somebody asked Starkiller, not Starkiller, it was Guitar Skate Live. The Jody Taylor, was it not a goal? It's a hard angle from where that camera was at. I really thought it went in, me personally. Obviously, the referee did not think so, and we don't have review in the NWSL, so we don't have that. So it is possible that it could have potentially been 3-1. Maybe that goal would have changed some momentum. But yeah, someone asked, what is wrong with the Reign? Good question. Do you have any thoughts on what's wrong with the Reign potentially? Because it's kind of surprising to see some of the games they've been having so far this season, I think.
I thought that the move for them might be helpful, but I actually feel like maybe that had the opposite effect at this point. I think the move to Tacoma might still be affecting them a little bit, because change is never easy. But I'm thinking that as they kind of find their element and get used to kind of new facilities and all of that, they'll at least start to gain a little bit of momentum, at least at home. And hopefully that'll also carry them in the away games.
Danielle, do you have anything on that?
Flat Coast teams are notoriously slow at the beginning of the season, start slow and then pick up near the end. Look at, FCKC. That's just, I don't know. I love Vlatko, but his teams start slow.
Right.
He's just being too nice.
And again, Nagasato with a great game. Rekon, we'll talk more about her in a little bit. Next, we had, which I think is maybe for me personally, the most surprising result of the week. I think that Sky Blue and Portland had a 2-2 draw with 2 goals from Carly Lloyd, which I might get in trouble for this. Might also be the other surprising part of that game. Just honestly, because again, this might just be my opinion. Even going back to last season, had not really seemed to have much of an impact in that regard for Sky Blue. So good for her, honestly, especially going into like the World Cup. You want to see someone being in good form, assuming she'll be on the roster. You would think. But that was kind of surprising. That's really kind of what I had. Those were the things I wanted to mention. I know Jen wanted to talk about.
I always want to talk about that goal though. That's like a classic Tobin Heath goal. So going back to players getting in form for the World Cup, like that's the Tobin Heath I want to see walking into this World Cup. So it's nice to see that from her.
And Starkiller mentioning, not that surprising, Portland has always struggled against Sky Blue. I guess I don't remember that far back. I guess point, but I guess I'm surprised, I guess maybe I shouldn't be, but pleasantly surprised, I guess. Danielle, did you have anything to add on the Portland?
Well, like I said, Portland has always struggled, even with Portland's like some of their best seasons for whatever reason they've had. And not just losses against Sky Blue, like bad losses. So it's weird. I think I might not be the biggest Carly fan in the world. If anyone follows me on Twitter, they know that. But I'm glad that she's, in form. And, if she gets time during the World Cup, that's good. I saw Sonnet goal because Sonnet score a goal because she heard I was talking about her. So, good for her.
The one thing I want to mention, I can't find the mouse. One thing we're gonna talk about attendance later on, so I'll save. I have an attendance question for Sky Blue, whether that's concerning or not. We'll talk about that when we talk about attendance numbers. But just a thought to think about. They wouldn't have the greatest attendance, and we'll cover that more later. But it sounds like someone said Frogger Chica was there, said everyone went wild. So at least the people that are there are engaged and interested. So that is a super plus. If you don't have numbers, at least have very enthusiastic fans there. I think that's good to have too. So okay. And then lastly, the Courage beat the Dash 4-1. Goals by Williams, Dunn, Dabinia, Pruitt. That was her first goal, first professional goal. And then for the Dash, a goal from Daly, an assist by Kaya Simon, which I think is noticeable because she had been out for some time and had surgery and whatnot. So that's kind of cool. Just a note, that was Lynn Williams' 40th career goal, which puts her fourth on the all-time scoring for NWSL. And then Dabinia's goal was also the 100th goal for the Courage. So just a little fun facts there. Any thoughts on any other thoughts other than Courage are still doing the thing? Okay,
Never. The answer is never.
I didn't hear any of that.
A question about PKs?
Yeah, when will the Dash stop causing PKs?
Never.
But Jane Campbell apparently is going to keep saving them. So as much as she can. She's had a couple so far. So rock on, I guess. And so that's kind of like the games, and the Courage are still undefeated. They're having a crazy start to the season again. Yeah, so that's it for this week. We just want to mention real quick, and if anyone has any specific comments about, we're going to talk about the games for next real quick. Chicago at Utah Friday night.
I think Chicago's still supposed to have all of their players, but I think I saw somebody say Utah's not going to have Becky. So
from what I had seen, this weekend was the last game for the U.S. players, but other internationals are potentially going to be there longer.
Like Kerr.
And I was talking more about, I'd heard most specifically about the Canadian internationals. I don't know about any other international, but it does seem like they will be around a little bit longer, maybe an extra week or so from what I had heard.
And this was just me taken from a Chicago local member's Twitter. She thought that most of their World Cup people were still going to be there. So
rock on. I think it's actually going to be a pretty good game, so I'm interested to see how that turns out. I think they're both actually been pretty decent so far this season. Rain at Spirit on Saturday. I'll let you start off with that because it's that spirit girl, Jen.
Star Wars night.
Great, awesome.
I'm really excited. It's gonna be Star Wars night. It's tough. It's so tough because both teams have had so much change, especially on the Spirit. The Spirit in particular have had a lot of change. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen there. But I don't know. I'm pulling for my Spirit, man.
I'm neutral, but I'd be interesting to see. Yeah, the spirit who have like been okay, and then this Reign who've just been kind of like, eh. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of rolls along. Yeah. So the next game is Sky Blue versus at the Courage on Saturday. Also, I don't know. Oh, I'm like, what is she doing? So I think that could potentially be really ugly for Sky Blue. So sorry, Sky Blue fans. I really am. I mean, I say that with like knowing that there's going to be probably some people gone from both teams, but I just think it just has the potential to be kind of ugly for Sky Blue. Danielle, you kind of nodded. Do you have anything else to add?
I think the Courage they're not good because of their World Cup players. So I don't,
right.
Yeah. So that's why I just don't think that, even if they were at a disadvantage, that it's going to make a difference. But Sky Blue is one of those teams that surprises you. They win when they're,
this is true.
Minus the last season, of course. They win when they're not supposed to. So, this is a great opportunity if they can draw to build some momentum for these next few months. But I think the Courage is too good right now.
And I see Moment of Silence for Sheridan against Carolina. Actually, she's been like really solid for Sky Blue. So like I think she could be a big game changer in regards to maybe keeping the score down a little bit for the Courage. But that's just my opinion. She's been stellar. We'll talk more about her in a little bit too. I don't know, Danielle, we're going to talk a little bit about some other league news real quick. Danielle, do you want to talk about some of the players leaving? We kind of mentioned players leaving for camp, but do you want to take over any of the news that we got going on for that?
Also, Orlando at Houston on Sunday.
Oh, why did I miss that? Oh my gosh, sorry. Orlando at Houston on Sunday, which I actually think might be. I don't know who would win that game because I feel like I would maybe give the edge to Houston. Maybe, sorry, Orlando folks, but. And that'd be a good game too. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it'll be good.
Yeah. Sorry for skipping that, everyone, for Houston and Orlando fans. So sorry. Did you want to jump in?
Okay. No, we don't have to talk about Orlando.
Oh, okay. So now I'll hand it over to if you want to kick it off some of the other league news, Danielle.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of talked about already the players leaving. Some are going to be leaving earlier than others. Speaking of that, we got the New Zealand roster. So Katie Bowen, Urseg are both made New Zealand, which is good. And then, just quick. And then the Spirit also has Gatorade as a sponsor, which I guess I have to change the drink I'm drinking right now. But
that aside, though, I mean, I was going to say I think that's a pretty solid sponsorship. If you want to comment more on it, Jen.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean, Gatorade really started like hardcore supporting women's soccer in '99. In addition to Mia Hamm as one of their advocates. So, I mean, the partnership with Gatorade and women's sports does go back, and I think it's nice to have a partnership like that where one of these huge names is stepping in, but it's not just a huge name. It's a huge name that actually gives a crap about women's sports. I think that's going to be a great thing moving forward.
Danielle?
And it has to be good because Body Armor basically has a blanket contract or has been like in the locker rooms a lot. So for them to kind of, go with Gatorade, that implies to me there's, a good amount of cash involved.
Just to double back real quick, I was going to say this when we got talking about the other thing. Yeah, good to see Urseg playing for New Zealand again. Just to go back real quick, I try not to do this too much, but I just wanted to comment. Ditto. So moving on with that, I guess some U.S. Women's National Team news. We've heard now confirmed roster coming out tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. So via those Twitter. So I'm sure we post it other places if you don't do the tweeter like Jen.
It will be everywhere in 5 minutes afterwards.
Yeah, basically it'll be everywhere in 5 minutes after. I'm trying to think. I saw some people mention the rumor that I didn't see the article. Someone said there was an article. Ali Krieger is rumored to be on the roster. I didn't see the article. I know Danielle had mentioned that when we were putting together a list too. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that, Danielle.
I mean, you said most of it. There's an article going around by pretty reputable people who say that she made the 23. So not just the roster. It sounds like not as an alternate. Excuse me. So it's kind of like Boxy in 2015 in the sense that Boxy hadn't gotten a lot of caps, in the year before. And then she was a surprise. And I mean, for some people, Ali's not a surprise, but I think for a lot of people that ship had sailed in a way, not saying that was right, not saying it was wrong. She wasn't allocated. So I'm surprised because of that, but I'm also not surprised. I mean, again, she's a veteran. And after those call-ups a month or so ago, it made sense. Plus, whether you think she should be a starter or not, that we're not going to get into that. The nice thing about a World Cup roster is it is big enough to have players on it that might not get starting time, but are a locker room presence. And I'm not saying Ali won't. I'm not saying she will. But if all else fails, you want her in the locker room.
And Starkiller made a point and said that there's no alternates for the World Cup anyways. It's just an Olympic thing.
Good point. Good point.
That seems about accurate. There have been a lot of questions, and either one can jump in about looking into if Krieger has made the roster. What does that mean? Is Kelly O'Hara still injured, or are there questions about her fitness for the World Cup? If that's a sign of that, or if they think that O'Hara will be out entirely. Those are good questions, and I don't know if anyone wants to touch on those thoughts at all. I don't necessarily have an opinion on that. I think we have learned, I think, in some previous games that there were maybe some defensive weaknesses previously that I think having someone like Krieger can cover and to provide a little bit more security for. That's my opinion. I personally am not sure what that means in regards to O'Hara. I don't really have a comment on that. If anybody else does, I'm happy to throw it to you. I don't really.
At this point, as far as health goes, I don't think she's I don't think she's World Cup ready yet. As far as fitness, she's not playing 100%. When we do see her in like practices or anything like that. So I'm not sure that they are related. If Ali is called up, I'm not sure that they're related, but I wouldn't expect to see KO.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, real quick before I jump to you. I mean, she has been getting some time in. She has been seeing really like limited minutes. And I haven't necessarily paid attention to her play that much, but she has been getting limited minutes as far as league play. So that may be telling also about not being ready. But go ahead, Danielle. Sorry.
I think KO makes the roster. I do. I think Starkiller made a good point. I think KO makes it. I think that means Casey Short doesn't. KO, because if KO does get healthy before the World Cup, you want her on it, and I think Jill thinks that too. So I think KO makes it. I think it all of this comes down to we should have done a better job developing at this position. These players, and yes, Hinkle, I guess that conversation, I don't want to have that conversation because over that whole thing, but there's also a problem when Hinkle's the only other person we can think about. There should be more we have a big youth system, and maybe it comes down to this, which I'm sure if any of you follow Fitzy on Twitter, you'll hear all about the youth system in that rant. So I don't need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think again, and maybe Krieger does play into that. If she is, if O'Hara does make the roster and isn't fit again, it's some security in that position that we'll get there. So good questions. Starkiller makes a good point. Ellis can make changes until the final deadline, which she thinks is the 24th. Okay, I didn't know that. So hopefully that is the roster, though. That'd be kind of crappy to announce the roster and be like, just kidding. But again, I think that's more so if there are injuries. So yes, if O'Hara is in the roster, and then say like between now they have another game, 1 game, 2 games.
There's New Zealand and something else.
Yeah, something on the 26th, Mexico. So God forbid anything happens. Like yes, she could still make deadlines. Not after the Mexico game, because that's on the 26th. But someone asked about goalkeepers. I would say how many? What are there? 3 for the World Cup? Hope Solo. Well, who are the 3 we've only seen? We've seen Harris, Nair, and Franch, right?
I mean,
I have to think that or no?
I think it is Franch. I think the Campbell went away. But Campbell kind of went down on the list. Abby Smith hasn't been getting looks for a while, so it's Franch.
Alrighty. All right. So that we just have a couple of things. Wow, 27 minutes in, and we're kind of like on the point where we're getting ready to just wrap it up with some little fun facts. Wow, nailed it.
The list. The list
is key. Just a couple things, a little fun facts. They do the Media Association does the Player of the Week voting every week. So Yuki Nagasato was the Player of the Week this week. Woo. Carly Lloyd and Crystal Dunn were also in the top 3 for that. I think that's fair, honestly, based on this week's performance. Fair. Goal of the week was Tobin Heath. Also fair. Team of the week was Sheridan. I think probably also for the second week in a row, probably also fair. And then player of the month, somebody asked if we had a problem with that, and it was Crystal Dunn. And I don't personally. I think that's, when you look at for the whole month of April, I think that's fine. I would be curious to know if anyone out there, whoever asked that, did have a problem with it, who you think would be the player of the month. Either your thoughts on that?
I would be okay if Crystal Dunn was player of the month every month, even if she wasn't there. So
cool. Yep. Right on. Yeah. Jen's kind of doing the same. Yeah.
I mean, Crystal Dunn been killing it forever. So I can't really complain about it.
You need to get you a microphone.
I just need to be louder.
You do. And then lastly, from our end, if there's any last minute questions, I just want to talk about attendance real quick. I got the attendance number. So Orlando versus Utah in Orlando had about 4,600. Okay. Chicago versus Seattle in Chicago, about 2,800. Although I think that was maybe tickets sold for Saturday. I don't know how many actually were there on Sunday. Still cool though. Like trying to be near 3,000 for tickets sold even for Saturday is like A-okay in my book.
And you lose the walk-ups with the snow. So, any walk-up sales they lost. So
yeah, exactly. So that may have had or people looking at the forecast, oh, it's going to snow. I'm clearly not buying a ticket to this game. So I think that's probably pretty fair considering the weather was always forecast to be miserable. And then there's one good question. We'll come back to that. Frogger Cheek, I see you. Dash versus Courage in Houston, 2,900. I think that's, probably a little bit higher than we've seen for Dash before. Yeah, for sure. And then there's Sky Blue versus Portland. At Sky Blue, 1,300. And then my question earlier was, at what point do we find this like really concerning that they've always been lower attendance, don't get me wrong, but they've at least broke 2,000 at least like for an average previously, and 13. I think last week they were only like 1,300 too. So, and I don't know if that has to do with there's still fallout, from the whole off-season thing, like Novo thing that was happening, or like what. But should we be concerned for their future, like in the league? I don't know. I don't have a thought on that, but I know that we really would like to see their attendance get larger because those are comparatively pretty low, honestly. No, I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who is there at the game. Rock on, your support's awesome, but it is a little concerning that they have such low numbers.
It's going to be low until they move out of, URCAC. I've said it many times. It is impossible to get there on public transportation. It's not fun to drive there. I used to live just up 206, and even if I only had to take two roads down, I hated it. It's going to be like that. I don't know if we have to worry about losing them in the league, but there are a couple New York franchises that might. And I know the Red Bull thing has passed before. Who knows again? Personally, I'd rather it go to if somebody buys it and it is a MLS, I'd rather take the Red Bulls, who I don't like, over, NYCFC. But that is BB8. But that's a longer conversation that I don't feel like having today. But,
Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to loudly add? No. Okay.
News is in 2 weeks. It'll be 1,302 in attendance.
Yeah, Jen will be there. Jen will be there. Jen will be there May 11th at the Sky Blue game. Go say hi if you see her. I will not be. We both will be at the women's national team game on 26th at Red Bull. So say hi to her. Lastly, I know we're trying to keep it around a half an hour, but I think we did a really good job. We can touch on this real quick. So there have been I don't know if I can call it a rumor or like pretty solid information that they're looking to expand potentially into Hartford, Connecticut. For a potential expansion team that seems to be a little bit more than just a like flyaway rumor at this point. There have been some reports, and I'm going to say this carefully, that one of the majority owners has had previous, homophobic statements, homophobic attitudes. I can't speak personally to this because I have not actually seen those comments. I don't know how long ago those comments were. I don't know enough about it to comment on it, but we were asked about it, so will give my thoughts. Is before I publicly condemn and say that I would have a hard time supporting this expansion with this ownership, I would want to know, how long ago were these statements? Has their attitude changed since then? That kind of thing. I think that's been a question that's been thrown out, though, fairly from some soccer media, though. If this was true, would people have a hard time supporting, even though expansion is a good thing? And I would want to know more information before I could personally comment on that. And I just wanted, if anyone else has thoughts. Nala!
I personally, I don't want owners in this league that are like that, allegedly, I guess. Less homophobia, more people like Arnhem. But I guess my issue is, if it is questionable, there are so many other cities that have been talking about expansion a lot longer, and would make more sense than being on the East Coast. No offense, East Coast people, but I want to see LAFC get that team. I want Mia Hamm as an owner. Probably should have happened earlier, but I get the thinking. So I'd rather see LAFC. Let's get that Canadian franchise. Maybe I think that could be a lot of fun. There are just too many. Atlanta, I think there are too many markets that are hurting, that have potential people who might not be homophobes. And so,
and that's fair. Like I said, I don't want to judge that particular person until I have the details. But if that were to be the case, there are so many other people who we have been waiting to have franchises, expansion teams. That if that were the case, if that was still a belief that was actually held by somebody who would potentially be owning or investing in this other team, this potential Hartford team, I think there are plenty of other places they could go for expansion that maybe wouldn't be bringing that into the league again. However, just me personally, until I know more about it, I don't want to personally comment on it other than just speak in hypotheticals.
And good point. Clarification for me saying Canada, not the Whitecaps, because screw them.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Not really. I mean,
Wildly.
I kind of agree that, I don't personally have enough information about the situation to really say whether or not I agree with the ownership that is potentially being moved forward. But hypothetically, again, just to kind of echo everybody else, if this owner is homophobic, then that there's going to be a problem. I mean, we've seen it with the homophobia specs we've had in the league so far, how unfortunate that ends up, whether it's a player or an owner or whatever. We don't, thankfully, as a league, we're not accepting of that anymore. So I'm interested to see the research behind that, which I am going to start digging through that. But yeah, if it's not the case, then great. I think any expansion is going to be a good thing. At this point, if our league is still expanding instead of folding, I'm happy. But it's just a matter of how much truth there is to what's being said.
I guess personally, even that aside, if nothing comes from that, I would, I guess, personally like to see them expand somewhere other than on the East Coast, which hurts me because I could potentially go see a team in Connecticut, but I just feel like there's so many other teams we've heard of wanting in before that, and it's kind of, I feel like, came out of nowhere. Even though I think one of the potential backers ownership group is Christine Lilly, which I think is great to have that involvement. I just think that I think there's others that could have come first, regardless of this whole potential ownership issue. But I think, again, any expansion is good. Assuming any ownership issues aside, I think any expansion is good. I just think there'd be other people that could go first. Anything else that we didn't talk about? I see the chat's kind of gone cool. Danielle looks like she wants to say something. So
I was gonna say it was on the list, but it kind of didn't work out. I like with the roster release, some of it not leaked, but maybe we found out a lot of people early from some ads and some gifts. And those Hulu ads yesterday were pretty. Some were pretty great, some were pretty lazy. But I think they all reflected the personality. I'm not saying people were lazy. I'm saying, it kind of just went with their personalities. Like, hey, Hulu, sports, cool. But Becky Sauerbrunn obviously had the best ad because, as you know, she talks cat content. There's one other thing, and SpawnCon. And this was SpawnCon. She's great.
All right. Sorry. I kind of glossed over that. My bad. I apologize.
It's fine.
Frogger Chica just says BBC announced that Solo will be part of their team covering the World Cup.
I think she did. Did she do the Euros for them, or I think she did something else for them before?
That's funny. I honestly don't remember, but I think that will be interesting. I don't know, when I think of Hope Solo, this is gonna come up poorly. I don't know when I think of BBC. Hope Solo is not the first name that comes to my list of people that the BBC would have doing commentary. And I don't mean that even in like a bad way of her. And I just feel like they would want to have somebody. I don't know. That's just, I think that's weird, but that's okay. It's just me.
I disagree. I think it's smart because they're, kind of like how we have Kelly Smith or, a well-known player from different countries who over internationally is better known than Hope Solo. I mean, you can't find a better one. I'm not, if you've been watching, off or when we were off the post, if you've been watching this, I'm not the biggest Hope Solo fan, but she is the perfect, because she will say her opinions. She is a less offensive Alexi Lawless, and I'm sorry, don't yell at me for comparing them. I know what I just said, but I mean they'll say it, they don't care what you have to say, and they'll be loud and give you experience. She's perfect for it.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, on that note, we've gone a little over what we normally would. I do see one more question about the British, I think, commentator. I honestly sometimes don't listen to these games as commentary, so maybe we'll save that one for next episode. Poppy, I've heard good things about her. I will probably try to pay more attention to that this weekend, and we can maybe add that to next week's show. We tried to keep it around a half an hour. 7:40 though, that's really good though. We cut 5 minutes off, I think, the last week, so nailed it. If that's it, we'll do the thing we all do. We wave. We'll post when we're going to be back. Maybe it'll be 3 weeks in a row. Who knows? If not, we'll try to be back soon.
Send in your Q&A questions.
Send in your Q&A questions. Thanks for checking us out live. We always appreciate having y'all in here. And then we will see you soon. Bye, everyone.